Okay, guys, welcome this week to the 17 Media podcast, and we are very fortunate to have one of our current Broncos in Corey Jensen.
Welcome. Thanks for having me.
No problem, mate. Looking forward to unpacking a little bit more about yourself. So, but before we jump into things, we want to take a moment and give a huge shout out to our sponsor, Bartons Motor Group. Bartons Motor Group has played a massive role in bringing this episode together, making it possible for the likes of yourself being one of their ambassadors to talk about grassroots footy, which is fantastic. Bartons have supported the Bayside area for decades when it comes to junior sport, and namely junior rugby league and all the way through to cup. So it's great to have them on board, and I'm really looking forward to sitting down and having a bit of a chat. So, mate, you're a proud Queenslander and grew up in the north. What was life like in Bowen?
Yeah, pretty chilled. Bowen's a little small country town.
Yep.
I guess it's one of those towns where everyone knows everyone, so it was pretty easy going. Dad's a farmer up there in a tomato farm, and Mum was just working in the local supermarket. So growing up there was pretty smooth, and everyone there loved the rugby league. So that's probably where my love for footy come from. Yeah,
good. Been some great Queensland footballers come out of that area. And how old were you? And was league always your sport?
No, it wasn't, to be honest. I grew up playing soccer.
Okay.
I probably played soccer up until I was around 12 or 13. It just so happened that a lot of my mates from school transitioned over to rugby league, and I was kind of a follower back then, so went along with them and fell in love with it straight away. I was probably a bit more on the bigger side of things back there, so it probably suited me a bit more than soccer did.
Yep.
But just love the physical side of things of rugby league, and it just really, I think it just really grew in for Bowen as well, rugby league as well.
Yeah, for sure. That's good, because Fletch was saying he started out in soccer as well. Yeah. So if the Raw ever needs some help, mate, they'll probably call you boys over to have
a good about it now,
kick the round ball. bit of cardio work probably required.
Yeah, definitely required.
You guys are more geared for the heavy lifting these days. So obviously played a bit of footy at school, and what was your local club up there?
Yeah, so I started footy started for me through school footy, and then transitioned into club footy for the Bowen Seagulls.
Yep.
They're part of the Townsville Junior Rugby League system, so I think that sort of spans into Ingham, Ayr, out to Charters Towers, all those into playing to the Townsville competition. So it was travelling to Townsville every week, which is about 2.5 hour drive for games, and obviously they'd come down for the Bowen home games, but most weekends you're on the road, and a lot of travelling for the folks, but come from a big family, and we kind of all played footy, so it was something that our family enjoyed doing. Yeah,
that's that's a huge commitment, and I think the kids in this area, probably an hour or a bit maybe is the most we got to travel, and it's funny, we went to a carnival a few years ago out at Chinchilla called the Adrian Vowles Cup, and the kids in our team, which was Redlands at the time, were blown away that there was kids driving 2.5, 3 hours to get to a game. And the other thing, they had referees, so the referees had to really schedule the matches so that they could make all the games and have the right amount of travel. So huge commitment. So obviously your parents and family, like you said, were pretty big supporters. So that makes it easier.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, I'm the eldest, though, of 7 kids, so we all grew up, and there's 6 boys in that family, so all of us grew up, loved playing footy and really enjoyed that, and I think Mum and Dad got a bit of a kick out of it too. And,
I can imagine.
Coming from a small town, I think everyone there played rugby league, so it was a real chance for the families to get together and really make a bit of a fist of it, a bit of a weekend away of it as well, and we're pretty fortunate that we were a pretty competitive town. Our side was pretty competitive, so we did stick it to the Townsville there a few times. Like there's a few age groups you come through and they try and stack their sides or have stronger sides than others, and we competed pretty well against them. So it was always nice to go up there and take it to them kind of thing. So we kind of enjoyed doing that, being a small country town and giving it to the city teams. But No, it was
I
good.
can imagine it'd be a good trip home for 2.5 hours when you had the W, but maybe if you lost a nail biter, it probably wasn't that much fun.
It's never
but
enjoyable, but it was all good fun.
And I guess you made lifelong mates too.
Yeah.
That you can share your journey with. So you finished school, and then where'd your rugby league journey take you sort of after that?
Yeah, so I was I played Cyril Connell's under-16s while I was still at Bowen.
Yep.
So I was there, and then I got scouted by the Cowboys for a scholarship from that competition. And then my last year of school transitioned to Townsville, where I went to Ignatius Park. Because of that scholarship, they kind of recommended that I come there just for opportunity purposes and playing a bit more footy during the year and stuff like that, and a few more games to help my development. So I travelled, moved to Townsville for grade 12 and stayed at a home sit. So one of the teachers there stayed with them and two other boys who actually came from Ingham. So there was the three of us there with their family, and they kind of took us in and it went into the footy system through the school, and then did my last year there and played all the competitions through that school, and we had a pretty successful side and did pretty well that year. And then post schooling, went into the Cowboys under-20 system, where I then also played Melbourne for the Townsville Blackhawks during that period.
So that's that's pretty wild. Did you moving to Townsville, did that help not having to do the travel? Like, obviously you're training probably 3 times a week for Mal Meninga and Cyril Connell. So were you having to travel up in that grade 11, I guess, from Bowen for training 3 times a week?
Yeah, I was actually. It was pretty tough because you'd go and training, it'd be like nighttime training because obviously it'd be post school. So I'd be traveling 2.5 hours to train, finishing at 8, 9 o'clock, traveling that back home. So getting home at midnight, going to school the next day. And, it was funny, my parents, mum and dad would sort of rotate with my grandfather, who would take me on training. So one would take me Tuesday, one would take me Thursday, and then the parents would come up for the games on the weekend. So obviously moving to Townsville definitely did help. With school football obviously as well too, you're training a lot more. So you're training your morning sessions, you're doing your gym and that as part of the school program, plus your the representative side of things as well too. So it was obviously ideal to make the move and just make it so much easier for everything else. So but yeah, you're right, that Cyril Connell year of travelling was very hard, obviously not just on myself but on my parents and grandparents of making the travel for me.
And what was your Cyril was obviously a big step up from school stuff, or was it you're sort of doing a bit of school stuff as well? So how was the training and the intensity of it, I guess? How did that sort of sit with you at the time? Was it a shock, or was it like, this is pretty normal?
Oh, a bit of both. I think in under 15s I made the Queensland White schoolboy team. I think that's like the second Queensland side from through schoolboys. So I was kind of had an idea of like what it was going to be like transitioning into that kind of competition. Obviously, it's a bit different than playing local school footy, and in terms of the calibre of players you come up against and the week-to-week grind of playing that, especially as such a young kid growing up. But playing at that rep level, you kind of get a taste of what it's going to be like, kind of thing. So that probably made the transition a little bit easier. But, going into the week-to-week of playing good, solid, like, footy was obviously definitely a shock, but something that I wanted to do.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. It's funny, like you have a 30 squad or thereabouts for those Cyril Connell, Mal Meninga teams, and, some weeks you sit back and think, well, they could almost have like an A and a B side in those squads and keep everyone fit, because I know that it's a challenge for kids that are doing the preseason and they're not picked and they're watching, because obviously you don't do preseason style training during the season a lot. So it'd be handy, but we do have a lot of talent in Queensland, so which is good. So you went from, so you're in the Blackhawks, who feeds into the Cowboys, similar to Seagulls here, and I guess Magpies and Burleigh that feed into the Bronx. So how did it come about that you sort of went from the Blackhawks? You were obviously being spoken to and talked about and all that with the Cows? Yeah, so I got the scholarship through playing 16 Cyril Connell and that with the Cowboys, and then from the school, it was like a 3-year scholarship I think at the time, so
post school, I transitioned into the Cowboys under-20 system, and I was there as an 18-year-old, and then was playing Melbourne at that time then too with the Blackhawks, but obviously was associated with the Cows, so I would be training with them, but then feed back into the Melbourne on the weekend basis, and played that for Melbourne and got picked in the 18s Origin side through that from that year. So that was a pretty big stepping stone for myself.
Wow.
And then,
who was your coach in that then?
Oh, I'm trying to think. It's a long time ago.
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
Oh,
Well, I'm sure he'll be listening to this podcast,
Yeah, I
so
know,
he'll be
I
just
know.
like, oh my God. But anyway, we'll move on.
no, but it was good. 12, 13 years ago now.
Yeah,
since I
okay.
played that.
Yeah,
But
yeah. That's a tough one. So, playing for your state. Wow.
yeah, and it was back then. I think they still do it now, but you play pre the big Origin thing, so it was a pretty big, like a wow moment, I guess,
Oh,
as
I
a
can
young kid,
imagine.
and you always
Yep.
grow up and you watch the Origins and you want to be a part of it. So to run out in the same pitch as the greats do was something pretty special, and that was probably one of my biggest highlights growing up.
Yep.
Which sort of transitioned to where I got to today. So.
Yeah, wow. How good. That's every young boy or girl's dream
For sure,
to play
yeah.
for their state, particularly now. Like the women's state of origin is just
Oh, it's getting
huge.
Yeah, it's good to see.
huge, and their comps just coming along so good. So it's great to see that sort of thing. So Cowboys, when did you get to a point where you were spending more time with the Cowboys? Probably after 20s, was it?
Yeah, so after Blackhawks, Melbourne sort of side of things, and then transition was training with the 20s full time there, and I probably played around. That's when the NYC competition was going around, so had 3 seasons there with the Cowboys 20s, and probably played around 60 games in those 3 years. So I played majority of the 3 years there, and post under 20s, I didn't get signed to a first grade contract straight away. So a lot of people back then, or obviously kids, hope to go 20 straight into first grade system full time, and I didn't do that way. So I was playing or signed to the Queensland Cup, but working too. So I was sort of part time, and where I did that for 3 years as well before I finally got offered a 1 year deal with the Cowboys there to be full time, and then sort of transition into that from there.
Yeah, wow. So, I mean, look, let's face it, the Q Cup's a great competition too. So, and there's only so many players that can get into the NRL.
Yeah.
So, after a couple of years in the Q Cup, was the fire still? Obviously, the fire was still burning, but when you entered those seasons, were you sort of thinking, "This is what I need to do to get a call up," or what was your thought process through that period? Or were you just content playing Q Cup and letting your footy do the talking?
Oh, a bit of both. Like I kind of knew or had a feeling that the transition for me, even if you were signed to first grade straight away, that you'd probably have to play Cup to get used to playing against men, the physicality, because you're playing, I guess, kids football, not kids football, but boys football through the under 20s, where you're not really probably exposed to the physicality of things that you would be in the NRL. So for me, it was just another step to get to where I wanted to get.
Sure.
I always had the motivation and drive that I knew that if I could play my best footy, that an opportunity will come.
Yeah.
However long that took, like I was happy to bide my time and just keep working hard. And for me, it was like, okay, well, I'm not having to step back. A lot of kids, I think these days, think that if you don't get signed straight out of 20s, that it's a step back to playing Cup before getting, I just found it as a step to get there, because I knew, like, realistically, if I was signed first grade, I'd be playing Cup first anyway. So I was happy just playing Cup, and like I said, if I knew that if I kept working hard and kept digging in, that I'd get an opportunity. And that's kind of what happened, and probably took longer than I'd hoped it to, but I knew that perseverance would pay off, and it did.
Oh, look, that's you're right. Kids of today want things straight away, but they also, when it doesn't happen, it's kind of, we don't go to, I just need to work a little bit harder. It tends to be a lot of doom and gloom. Like, if I can't get it now, then I'm never.
It's not going to happen. Exactly.
Yeah. So, I mean, a good story there for our listeners in resilience and making it work. So, what sort of work were you doing when you were playing for Cup?
A bit of everything, really. I was doing some teacher aid work at a local school up there in Townsville, and then did a bit of bar keeping work and that as well, and working on the grounds up there at the Brothers Leagues Club there. So they put me on. I was doing a bit of the lineman work and doing bits and pieces around the field. So just stuff that I could really do in and around. I was studying at uni at the same time as well, so I did sport and exercise science through uni. So was doing that part-time training and then working obviously to make ends meet.
So pretty
really.
yeah, exactly, to
Yeah.
make ends meet.
Yeah.
So pretty busy.
Yeah, you have to. And I was trying, I was pretty fortunate. My parents were big believers of having something to fall back on if rugby league didn't work out. And I try and preach that to a lot of kids growing up now, that I know that footy is just everything and they just want it to happen. And realistically, not everyone's going to play in the NRL. And I think there's a very small minority or percentage that actually go on to play NRL. So, and I was fortunate that it was something that, mum and dad really hammered down to me and said, look, that's your goal, but if it doesn't happen, you need something to fall back on. And I always had a love for sports and exercise, so I was like, well, I'll get this degree done, and if it wasn't to happen to play in the NRL, then I'd have something to fall back into, and I'd have a degree there where it may help me to, or still be a part of a rugby league system in some aspect, and because I just love sport in general.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, that's awesome. And like you say, a plan B is not something that's really considered, but in life it's probably a great idea to think about that.
Yeah.
Because, most of them, the young guys, they back themselves, and that's fantastic.
Yeah.
But even if you make it to the elite, there's rugby league, or I should say professional sports, probably one of the shorter careers out of all professions.
Yeah.
So it's not going to last forever. So,
No, I think they say on average, especially for rugby league, if you get in the system, it's 3 years or something like that. Like it's nothing in terms of like if you're obviously very fortunate, as I have been, to play longer. But the minority don't. Like if an average is 3 years, you got people that are playing one, and then very minority, they get to play a 10-year career.
Absolutely.
And even 10 years still in general is short compared to the rest of your life. So
100%. Yeah, some people go through 10-year stints at 3-4 employers in their life.
Exactly.
So were you always in the forward front row? What positions did you start out playing? Any obscure position?
I did actually. Like growing up, or like earlier on, I played in the halves.
Really?
Yeah, ironically, it was so weird. I don't know whether it was just because I just picked up the game of rugby league easier than most. So I watched a lot of footy and stuff like that, and just picked it up. So I probably had the IQ, something a bit better than other players. I wouldn't say I was the best half going around, but growing up in Bowen, and probably just picked it up a little bit quicker, and then didn't take too long that I transitioned into the back row and then actually into the middle, just as obviously your physique fills out and whatnot. But I was a weird one to start in the halves.
Yeah, I bet the halves were happy to see you move to the back row.
Oh, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. By the time I got a little bit older, it was probably a no-brainer to move there.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. So, and like you're obviously playing front row now. So, when did front row position come for you? Was that in the 20s or Mel or?
Probably, more so Mel. I played a little bit, probably more back row in Cyril Connell. Played middle in Mel, bit of middle and back row in 20s and that. And then it was ironic that one of the reasons I didn't get signed straight out of 20s was that they thought that I needed to get a little bit bigger at the time. I was probably a bit more of a leaner back rower through 20s. So that probably was a bit more of a motivator for me too, out of that to, okay, I need to get a little bit bigger, pack on a bit more size. So that probably helped the transition to the middle a bit more, knowing that as well. So that for having them see me more as a middle, then that was what I had to do.
And what's the differences between the two positions? Because they are a little bit different, aren't they?
Yeah, I think, growing up, you play in the forwards, but then as you get a little bit older, like your jobs and whatnot that you have to do, and they see, obviously, I reckon back rows these days are more 80-minute back rows, and you need to have like your defensive movements and IQs are probably a bit more different than playing in the middle. In the middle, you're sort of in that washing machine. You just going all day, where you need to have a bit more smarts about you on the edge and connecting well with your halves and your outside and your outside backs and that as well. So there is a bit more involved, I feel, mentally when you're playing the back row. In terms of like work rate and whatnot, you're probably going a bit more in the middle. But they both have their similarities, and then obviously in attack you run your lines and that on the edges there. Where in the middle you're just trying to get your team forward and get your team forward,
make your tackles.
Yeah, make your tackles. Do that hard nitty gritty work, which I like doing, and it's probably something that I've sort of based my game around because I've never been the most flamboyant player.
And that's the thing. There's some fancy footwork in the middle at times, but there's a lot of fancy footwork out on the edge.
Yeah, exactly.
And in one of our previous episodes, Fletch was saying, he doesn't like it because it's easy to get stood up by someone out there with some
100%,
fancy footwork.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
When you're playing on the edge there, a lot of the times you might end up in a one-on-one position. If you have someone with a bit of feet there, it can make you look silly. So it's not too bad being in around the middle there.
I bet. So then you've gone from there and you're on to Cowboys. So when did you, you were approached by the Cowboys and give a scholarship, but did you have a manager at that time, or you have someone reach out to you as a manager, or did you manage yourself, or what was the story?
No, I was actually pretty fortunate. So the manager that picked me up when I had a scholarship through Cows at 16's helped me out. I still have now. So I've had the same manager for my whole career, and he's been really great. Like, he's easy to talk to. Cole Davis. Yeah. So I've worked with him since I was a 16-year-old kid. So we've had a long-term relationship.
That's a massive attribute for a manager.
Yeah, for sure. And he's always been open and honest to me, which is what I really like. And he's always been there for me and helped me out a lot. So I guess I have to owe a lot to where I am today because of him. So it actually obviously made things, because I didn't know how things worked or what things were going there. So all the advice I had was to get yourself a manager so you don't have to really worry about that. And like I said, to have someone as loyal and works hard for me, like him, I was very fortunate.
And is he active now? Does he have plenty of talent on the books?
Yeah, I don't know. I know there's a few boys. I know he's got Benny Hunt that's there, and Harry Grant, and they're down at Melbourne. So there's a few boys there that I know that he has. And so I don't think he has a great deal of players, which is probably not a bad thing. Like, keeps you in touch, and that
does
a bit small. You got some managers who have a lot of players. You might not hear from them on a regular basis, but mine always reaches out to me and would ring for a chat every fortnight to a month. Good. So it's nice to know that you're still in around there, and probably why I've been with him for so long. Yeah,
and I guess that's the thing too, because they play a support person role. They get your stuff done and advice and
feedback and stuff like that too, which is always helpful.
Yep. Because we know that young rugby league players sometimes don't like to hear feedback. So it's
you need the good feedback, but also the feedback that helps you improve. And I always say, if you're not winning, you're learning. So
absolutely,
it's always constructive feedback whenever it comes from it. So
most definitely. So Cows, did you play some first grade stuff with the Cows?
Yeah. So I debuted in 2017. Was fortunate to play 17 games in my first year.
Wow, that's cool.
Played in the grand final actually that first year against Melbourne. Like, they touched us up that year, but was in it was a pretty fairy tale run being my first year in grade and playing in a GF. But managed to play, I think it was close to 60 games over the 5 years I was there. Before coming down here.
Wow. Gee, grand final, that would have been pretty wild.
Yeah, well,
I mean, win, lose or draw, that's kind of a pinch yourself moment.
Yeah, it was funny because that year I actually remember that we were sitting ninth going into the last round of the competition, and we needed results to go our way. And I don't know, if it must have been a team that was sort of down the bottom was versus a team up the top, and we needed that team to win, and we're like, it's going to be a no hope kind of thing. So we were kind of prepared for our season to finish there, and they somehow managed to beat that side and pushed us into 8th. And then we went on a knockout run every week, and
so just high intensity, must win.
Our first finals game went to Golden Point, and we beat Cronulla by 1 point. And then the following week we played the Eels, underdogs, won that. Then Roosters, they said they had no chance. Probably played our grand final the week before the grand final. To be fair, and then come up against a red hot Melbourne side in 2017, who probably were one of the best teams I played against, to be honest. And that was too good on the night.
Who's that was post the GF up there that they won, wasn't it? What was that?
Yes, they won in 2015. Yeah, they beat Brisbane there in 2015, and then I think 2016 they made the prelims, and then 2017 we had that nice run, and off the back of, I remember Michael Morgan and Jason just having outstanding years that year and kind of carry us to the grand final. But it was pretty surreal to be a part of something so special in my first year of NRL.
So you would have been with, who were your fronties then? You would have had Scotty and...
Yeah, Scott Bolton was there. Matt Scott was there, but ironically, like, he was probably the reason I had the opportunities. He got injured for a lot of that year, for the back end of that year. And I was kind of in and out the first season playing there. And then, unfortunately, like, he couldn't play in the finals run, and got the opportunity to play in the grand final. And I know Scotty Bolton and those guys are there, and Gavin Cooper was one that sort of was leading us around out there. And we had a good side that was very confident, but obviously, like I said, ran into a good side and won the grand final.
Yeah, Melbourne are remarkable, aren't they? amount of success they've had over such a long period of time.
Yeah, it's probably just what you're in awe of their consistency.
Oh yeah, and
regardless of the players or personnel they have, they just keep producing.
They do. They certainly do. And then from there, it was on to the Bronx.
Yeah, so it was a funny one because I was like, I've always been a pretty shy country kid, so moving from town, or even moving from Bowen to Townsville was big for me, and then moving from Townsville to Brisbane, I was like, I don't know if I can do this, and it was just one of those things of get me out of my comfort zone kind of thing. I don't have many family at all down here at the moment, so I was like, just got to bite the bullet and give it a go and see how it goes, and if it works out, great. If it doesn't, I can always move back home, and it's probably for me personally, and probably rugby league wise, probably been the best move of my career. It really helped me not so much pick up or like find another, I guess, what's the word, lease of life in rugby league, I guess, but a bit more of a motivating factor coming down here and proving myself again. And I was at the Cows for 5 years, so I was like, I don't know if I was going to become stale or just needed that change, but it was like, okay, I got to come down here, start from scratch again and prove myself again and prove my worth. And like I said, I haven't looked back and have enjoyed every moment down here.
Oh, he played some great footy over the period. Like it's, and you're probably playing with a couple of, well, no doubt you're playing with some premier players in the forward pack that are, good to be around.
Yeah.
You would have, like, no doubt you've mentored those guys a bit because of your age and your experience and all that, but playing with players like Paddy and Payne must be pretty cool.
Yeah, it's funny, like you say that. Like I played with some great forwards and Jason Tomalolo and Gav Cooper and those, and Matty Scott, like I said, and those guys in Townsville and stuff like that. And I really looked up to a lot of those guys. And then coming here, and then like you said, you have Paddy and Payne, and I'm probably obviously a little bit older than what they are, but I'm still learning so much from them.
Yeah,
they're obviously two premier forwards in the competition. They've played state, they've played Aussie reps and stuff like that. And I still feel like, even though I am a lot older than them, I'm learning still. Which is, I think it's a big thing, not just in rugby league, but anything you do in life. Like you constantly want to keep learning and keep getting better. And for me, like I look up to them rather than them look up to me. Like there's probably obviously things there that I can help them in with just because I've been around a little bit longer as well. But I see more so as me learning off them than them learning
that's
off me.
good.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt. Life experience probably is an area you can help them with because,
Yeah, and I've been in, and we were fortunate obviously to go in 2023. They made the GF, but before that, like they haven't played in many finals footy, so I was able to help them in that kind of aspect, having that experience and how to get there. But I have to admit, like everyone there at the Bronx, and even the younger blokes, like just their willingness to learn and want to get better. It's really like it's an eye opener to see, and it's really great to see that they just at such a young age have that motivation and drive to be the best they can be.
Yeah, and they've certainly developing their talent. Like some of the younger academies that they've got going on. There's some really good players that are coming through, and I guess that's always the case.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think obviously being an older player, you see how much development has improved over the years in terms of like the development systems each club have, and clubs like I know the Bronx there, they have their development system where the young kids go in and train 3 days a week and do their stuff, part of development. Like back in the days, you didn't really have that. Like you'd play your feeder things, and then you might go for a scholarship camp once a year, or everyone that scholarship to a club would go in for a week here and there. But they actually have a development system where players, obviously that are in the town, go and train there 3 days a week. So you're in and around the system. You're always learning. You're ready for that transition for when your time comes. And I think obviously every NRL club will have that in some aspect, but it's a thing that's definitely improved over the years. Yeah. And why we're seeing such talented players and good young kids coming through because they've had that nurturing coming through.
Oh, look, 100%. And I take my hat off to it. And we talk about, the rep program, the rep pathway. Unless you're in it, you don't really know what it's about.
Yeah.
Being fortunate enough to be around the Seagulls here with their rep teams, the cohesion between, say, the Winner Seagulls and the Brisbane Broncos is really strong.
Yeah,
and you can see that there's players coming back and going up and doing all that, but also in the younger versions. Like there's a lot of Broncos players that have been placed at Wynnum, and they are helping the kids around them. Like they're obviously great players, but you can tell they don't walk in with a chip on their shoulder. No. They just walk in and they're all there, and they've mate one unit and away they go.
Yeah, for sure. I think obviously having those clubs that are associated with bigger clubs definitely helps out the player. And I've actually played a few games at Wynnum there too, and like you're going back there. They're my affiliate teams, so going back there, and you want to perform well for that team. You want to make them. Okay, that's your priority when you're back there now, is to perform well for them. They're giving you your opportunity, and you know personally that you obviously want to be playing first grade, but you're back there playing with them there, and they're there is your pathway to get back into there. So performing well for them is what your priority is at the time. And like you said, it's those young guys are coming through, and you see a lot of Bronx development players playing the Colts and then going through, and like that, it is a good system that they have set up there.
I think it is, and one of the things, and I've had a chat with Jock Madden on a couple of occasions, and he says, you know, being at the Broncos and being maybe a couple in line is fine by him, because you're at such a prestigious club that attract a lot of good talent. And he's been playing Q Cup the last, few games, and he's saying it's great just being able to get out there and play footy, but play footy in a system that is aligned with the Broncos. So it's, he doesn't feel like he's got two thumbs when he goes out there, because it's a different game plan or a different system. So it's good to see that.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. You have when all the teams that are associated with the Broncos, you have 3 affiliate teams and they play all similar to how you do it. It makes it easy to transition back there, and when you come back, what the players are very similar. How you play is very similar, so it makes the transition coming back quite smooth. Yep. It can be challenging, obviously, if you come back and you have to learn a whole new system and try and fit into that, and obviously do your best, but you're not training there from week to week. Correct. So having the similarity between the two systems,
it's good.
Yeah, it really makes it easier.
Because you can get plugged in sometimes. You miss the captain's run.
That's what I mean. Yeah, you get thrown in. You got to know what you're doing. It's easy to be able to tell what the plays are, but being out there and doing it's completely different things. So having things and having calls that are very similar, it definitely makes it a lot more cruisier. And I guess for Jocks being in the halves, he needs to know that and needs to have that simplicity to be able to run the team around. For me, it's just get the ball, run hard,
get the ball, run hard.
The job's pretty simple regardless of where you play. But I can see how it definitely be beneficial for your spine players to know those sort of things.
And they've had some really good comeback wins too, which no doubt being involved in that system has helped.
Oh, for sure.
So they've had a couple of nail biters. They've been down a bit at half time. They've come back and they've had some wins. So they've been going well. And I think, but he's like you said, he's just relishing the opportunity to play some footy. Okay, so just getting back to Bartons Motor Group, obviously you're an ambassador for them, so you're doing some work with them, and obviously one of those things is you get a car. So what are you driving now?
At the moment I drive a Hyundai Tucson, so it's a hybrid style car. Probably the best car I've driven, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah. It's very smooth, very quiet. I've never sort of driven a hybrid kind of car before, so it's been, I can't really fault it, to be honest. Like I said, it's probably one of the best cars I've driven.
Yeah, that's awesome. And have you've had a bit of variation, or you've been mainly in the Hyundais?
Mainly the Hyundais. Before that, I had driven a few Kias and stuff like that through Kia when I was there for the Broncos, but mainly the Hyundais through here. I think it's only my second car since being the ambassador here. So, but loving the car at the moment.
Oh, that's good. They got plenty in their range, so there's something there for everyone.
For sure.
It's one of those things that it beats walking.
Oh, 100%.
So,
I'll take it any day.
So being able to get in there is excellent. So they bought us a segment which is what we call 5 in the bin, which is 5 rapid fire questions that we want to get your answers, give the audience an opportunity. So, like I said, 5 in the bins, proudly brought to us by Bartons Motor Group. They are a big supporter of us, which is fantastic. So I'll just find some questions here. And what's your most favourite and your least favourite drill?
In terms of rugby league, like football drill?
Yeah, footy drills. Like when you were a kid, did you go, I hate this? Or you loved them all?
Oh, I wouldn't say I had any that I absolutely hated. I always knew the drill was a part of what you had to do, and it was obviously a sign for you to get better. So any drill I actually enjoyed doing because it was a chance for me to get better, especially growing up as a kid. I guess in pre-season you always hate the conditioning side of things. You have to do it, but it's always a hard part of things of getting it done. And especially in pre-season, it's normally in summer, it's a hard slog. So they're always hard to do. And But yeah, I enjoy anything, to be honest. Like I don't really shy away from any drill or don't like doing any drill. So I just try and attack it as best I can.
Yep. Well, that's good. Good to know. You just got to get after it.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, you don't get to pick and choose.
You can't shy away that. You got to do it all.
No, you don't get to pick and choose. Have you had any roomies that have stretched the friendship? Been a few pests? Or you've been lucky to...
I've been pretty fortunate. I remember when I was at the Cows, I had Gavin Cooper, who was a bit of an older head when I was coming through, and he was really good, to be honest. Like it's funny, like he's an older fella, but he has a kid's kind of brain or kid's mentality. So it was really fun and energetic to be around. And he probably made my transition into the thing really easy because you can be a bit daunting going away first year. And I had him for most of my cows and that while I was there. So it was pretty good. And then down here, sort of had a few roomies here and there, but I wouldn't say any really bad ones. Billy Bowles can be a bit of a pest at times. Had him a few times and whatnot. And
bit of a joker?
Yeah, a bit of a joker.
Yeah.
And
wonder where he gets that from. I think his
his old man's probably around there, but currently rooming with Xavier, Xavier Willison. So, which is funny because he's obviously a young kid, but he's one that's willing to learn. So I'm trying to be a bit of a mentor, I guess, for him as well, and sort of take him under my wing and help him out as best I can. And I think he's a really a bright full prospect coming through.
Oh, is he ever? He's definitely on the up.
Yeah, I think he kind of, I don't know if he realizes how good he can be in a way. Like and it's great because he's one that, like I said, like they're all like that, but just wants to be better, wants to learn. Listens to every bit of advice. Is always in there training hard and that. And like I said, for a young kid coming through, that's all you can ask for. And he's a great prospect, and he's I don't think he realizes, like I said, how good he can be, and he's got a great physique, great athletic body, and he's only going to keep growing and getting better.
Oh, look, and he's carrying the ball with such purpose, and he's hitting hard in defence, which I guess is what you need. Yeah,
and he's had a bit of a go there at back row as well as middle, and because he's so athletic, he sort of transitioned into both. So it's a very exciting to see where he could end up, but he's on a good trajectory.
A couple of recent games he started really well, come on really strong. So that's good. Have you got any favourite music you play in the gym or in the car, pump you up for a big game?
I love my country music. Yeah, so I love the Luke Combs, Morgan Wallen kind of thing. So I'm not huge on like having music that pumps you up. I just like listening to music that I enjoy, and that's probably
puts you in the right headspace. Yep. It's got to be better than some of the stuff those young fellas are listening to these days.
I don't even know what they listen to be honest. Like, you can't even hear the words, to be honest.
Yep. Do you have any superstitions?
I try not to, just because I know a lot of people say, like, do you eat the same thing before a game? Do you do this? I just find that if you have superstitions and you can't do them, then it plays with your head more than other things. So I just try and go with the flow. A lot of the times you're obviously traveling, so for instance, you can't predict what you're going to eat beforehand because a lot of it gets provided for you, so you have to eat what's there. And so I try not to have any superstitions before a game. I'll do, if we have late games, I'll try and have a nap during the day. That's probably one thing that I'll definitely try and do, depending on when we play. But that would be the only one. Other than that, it's pretty just take it as you get it.
As it comes.
You can't really try and dwell on the things that you can't control. So I just try and think of it that way. Because
there's some that you can get that people can obsess over, and it's just
and then if you can't do it, it plays in your head more than anything. So
that's the thing. Like I listened to a podcast a while ago. I think it might have been Matty Johns and Spud Carroll was on there. And some of the superstitions that he went through, I was like, my God, like the right meal 3 days out, had to park in a certain parking spot to go to that meal.
Yeah, so like that would drive me crazy.
Hectic. I was like, wow, there's next level, and then there's that. So lastly, if you had to pick 4 players to do a 14-hour road trip with, who you got? Past, present, doesn't matter.
4 players?
4 players. If you had 4 mates, do you want to go on a road trip?
I'm going to do Kobe Hetherington and Corey Pakes, just because they're both country kids who I think I'd
got a lot of similarities with.
Similarities. Be able
pretty
to have
go
good
with the flow.
About, pretty chilled, pretty laid back. And I think they're actually be pretty good navigators in terms of what
where to
knowing
get to,
go, what to do and whatnot.
Good.
So those two, I'd have to take my wife.
Yes.
I guess I can't leave her behind, so she'd have to come as well.
No doubt.
And I don't know, probably one of my siblings, one of my brothers, or something to come along just for for a bit of a
good crew.
Bit of a road trip. Yeah, so I think those four.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really good to know, because there's sometimes nothing better than being stuck in a car with someone for 14 hours, but there's also sometimes there's nothing worse.
Yeah, exactly. You got to pick them the right way. That's for sure.
I could see he's cruising along in your Hyundai hybrid.
That's it.
Having fun. Look, I guess the journey for our podcast is it's all about kids and how they get there and learning from others, and what you've shared with us today is invaluable, and there's going to be plenty of kids out there that are doing it. What advice have you got for young men and young women that are in rugby league? I've heard patience a lot, but anything that you'd pass on to the audience?
I've always sort of preached to myself, and I try and tell a lot of young kids, obviously if you have a dream, to follow it, I know, but also be realistic about things as well. Like for me, I think a lot of it too, like I had a lot of doubters when I was coming through in terms of people like that didn't believe that I'd get there. Obviously growing up in Bowen, small town, you're not going to make it. You're not from one of the big cities.
Yep.
So a lot of that was motivating things for me, but I also had a lot of just self-confidence that I could back my ability, that I could achieve anything.
Yep.
So for me, it'd just be, back yourself, but have something that to fall back on. Like professional sport is so hard to get into, and only the very fortunate ones will get there. So have something that you love second to whatever you might want to do, whether that's rugby league or whether that's any other sport or any other aspiration you have. Always have something to fall back on, but don't let anyone tell you that you can't do it.
Yeah, that's so good.
Just strive to get there, and if you don't, then you don't. But at least you know that you've given it your all and you're 100%.
And that's the thing. With anything in life, you give it your best. If you don't make it, you will never wake up wondering if you could have.
Well, that's exactly, and have no regrets. That's another thing too. Like don't stop and don't have any regrets that you can't get there. And if you don't get there, then just know you've given it your all to get there.
And it's funny, some of the players I've followed and young fellas and that I've seen, and there's a lot of luck in not giving up, resilience and hard work.
100%. And I've sort of based my whole career around that resilience, hard work. And like I said before, I'm not the flashiest player. I'm not the one with the skills. And I've seen countless number of players come through and way more skillful for me, way more better at rugby league and for me, but just didn't have the work ethic or drive to get there. And ultimately in the rugby league world, I guess you get to a certain point where everyone's skillful, everyone's got that talent, but it's those that want to work hard and do the extras to get to where you are.
And that's it, isn't it? The extras.
There. Exactly. It's whether that's your diet, your physical attributes, your extras that you do off the field to get to try and better yourself. Like there's only so many often that you can actually time you can spend at training. So it's what you do away from it.
And that we discovered that earlier with a few of the episodes, which is, if you're training twice a week for an hour a day in club footy land, and you aspire to make Cyril Connell or Mal Meninga, you walk in on day one, you're doing 3 2-hour sessions a week. So if you want to get there, you've got to put in the extras yourself. You've got to find more time to do more.
Yeah, because everyone's doing those 3 2-hour sessions. So if you want to be above those extra people, you got to do the extra work. And that's what I've definitely, and I've probably been fortunate in that, having that mental thing of like, okay, you're not the most skillful, you have to work hard. My whole career has set me in good stead because I know that's what is required to get there. Where a lot of people come through and they're obviously just very naturally gifted. They haven't had to maybe work as hard to get in certain things because of that. And they're finding it out the hard way because you get to a point where everyone's talented.
Oh, 100%.
And they haven't had to do the work to get there.
Yeah, your talent might be the 1%, but people are thinking 99%'s talent, 1%'s work. It's
the opposite way around.
It's not the case. So, well, once again, mate, I really appreciate your time, and the audience is going to love to hear this one. And we just can't wait to see you going hard for the Bronx and getting in there and making sure that you're giving us plenty of highlights, which is what you do. So looking forward to that. Once again, thanks to Bartons Motor Group for allowing this to happen. And, bring on 2025 and beyond, mate. Let's get stuck in.
Very enjoyed it. Thank you.
Pleasure. Thanks, Corey.
Too easy.